Next plant communicator presenter is Sara Artemisia, MS, a plant spirit wisdom teacher, flower essence practitioner, financial and multidimensional business coach, and host of the Plant Spirit podcast. Sara helps wellness professionals and empaths learn the energetic language of plant consciousness, deepen their intuitive gifts in collaboration with nature, and clear inner blocks to fully bring their life's work into the world. Welcome, Sara.
Thanks so much, Elisa and Paul, too, for the invite to be here with you all today. Just such a joy to be connecting with a group of plant lovers all around the world on this just incredible day of solstice. I just love that you chose this day for this as well, because when I was tuning into the plants about what it is that they really wanted to share collectively today, it was really about two things. One is, of course, about light, perfect for the day, and the other is about mirrors of wholeness. And so when we tune into this message from the plants about what can be helpful for creating a positive future for the human species and all life on Earth, the real biggest message that they came through with was about looking to the mirrors of wholeness. And really, this begins with this experience of recognizing how when we look in the environments around us, what kinds of mirrors are being reflected back to us? In the human world, this is often in society, mirrors of fragmentation, mirrors of disorder. And so if you think about your own life as an ecosystem, for example, and think about what are, or you could even think about it from that perspective of like a permaculture perspective or just the ecosystem's perspective of looking at like what are the inputs coming into your life right now through, you could think of it through media, through food, through your professional life, your relationships, your hobbies, things like this. What are these inputs reflecting to you? Are they reflecting back experiences of wholeness, or are you feeling any kind of tension or experience of fragmentation or disorder, or like it just doesn't have that smooth quality that we often experience when we're connecting with plants? And so recognizing that we live in a time right now where we're in a time of huge planetary change and there's so much fragmentation and disorder that is happening all around us, how can we connect with these with a map, with a way forward that is connected with wholeness? And the plants show us directly how to do this, which I'm just so grateful to them for this. And when we think about really what is the biggest mirror of wholeness in your life, for me that is nature, that is the plants. And so I'm so grateful to them because they show us the way forward is really what they're doing right now. So another thing that really comes to mind when I was preparing for this today was that Einstein quote about how we cannot solve problems with the same level of thinking that we used when we created them. And so recognizing, okay, looking around at the planet right now, there's so much suffering and grief and strife and disorder and things that just systems that aren't functioning, that are collapsing. We really can look to the plants to provide these archetypal maps for ways to move forward. And so we can see this around how plants relate to the ecosystem, to each other, to other beings of nature, that they can provide this way of understanding how is it possible to be in relationship, in good relationship with others who are completely different from us, with others who are similar to us? How is it possible to be in good relationships? That the plants show us how to do this. And so I'd like to start today by actually beginning with a tree meditation. This is another experiential thing that they invited me to share today. And so I'd like us all to just close our eyes for a moment and begin with a really short grounding. And if this doesn't resonate, it will be very short. And so just, I invite you to participate if this resonates, to just feel or imagine your connection with the earth way below your feet. And then bringing the awareness to the space of grounding in the body, deep in the lower belly. And then bring the awareness to the breath. and to the heart. And notice one thing you feel grateful for in this moment. And I'd like to invite you to imagine or visualize a tree that you connected with recently or just noticed. Perhaps it's a tree that you notice on your daily walks, maybe when you're walking your dog, or perhaps there's a tree in a park nearby or in your yard that you just absolutely love. And so to tune into this tree, just imagine or visualize or witness in your mind's eye, what is this tree doing with light? How does this tree relate to light? How does this tree experience light? How does light enter into the tree? And how does the tree metabolize this into food? And then I invite you to think about a situation that's happening in your life right now that it might be something where you're at a choice point, you're not quite sure which direction to move with it, or maybe there's a goal, something you're working towards, but you're not quite sure what the next step is to that. And tuning in again with this experience with the tree and how the tree is connecting with light. Is there any way about how this tree is oriented to light that could inform how you move forward in this experience with the goal or choice point that you are currently experiencing? And if anything came to you, any inspirations or ideas, I invite you to jot them down, either if you have your phone handy or a notebook and pen, to just write down any inspirations or ideas that came to you with that. And so when we think about what the plants are communicating to us, oftentimes people can get stuck on this experience of, okay, well, I'm not hearing the plant directly, right? Well, there can be ways that the plants communicate. For me, for example, the plants often communicate to me through patterns of geometry and light. And so this can be a really helpful tool. It might be the same for you or it might be different. But with these different approaches like this of really witnessing what is it that the plant or the tree is doing in relationship to light, and then imagining how could that inform how I move forward in something in my own life, that I really do feel that this is very profound teaching that they have to offer us about how we can move forward right now planetarily to really navigate through some of the challenges and changes that we're currently in the midst of navigating. And so another huge thing that they really wanted me to bring up today is this invitation for each of us to consider what is my role in the great transition planetarily right now? That each of us has a role, just like in an ecosystem, every being has a specific role within that ecosystem. And so each of us has a role in this great transition now planetarily, and every person's role is going to be unique in our own way. And that the plants show us this, that each plant is so individual that, for example, just looking out my window right now, there's a giant rose bush in front of me. There's a cedar tree about 30 feet away. The cedar doesn't want to be the rose doesn't want to be the cedar, that each of them has their own role in this experience of the global transition right now. And so it can be really helpful to consider first how the plants eat the light and the plants transmit light, and that it can be helpful to consider how is it possible for each of us to do that in our own way? How are we in our own way ingesting the light, and how are we transmitting that in our life's work? If that seems a bit too abstract, something that can be really helpful, which is a guiding question that I use in my life almost every single day when I come into situations, is this question of what would nature do when we come to a choice point, a crossroads, or any kind of challenge, to really consider if nature was, so for me, for example, I just say, like, if nature was in this body right now, if all of nature was inside of this embodiment that is known as Sarah, what would nature do for the very next step in this? And that this can be so supportive as we move forward collectively as humanity, as we move through these changes. So that is a really huge thing that can be supportive for both understanding how to celebrate diversity and collaborate with all of life, and just recognizing that there is this great model of wholeness that we are living within and is available to us all the time to be communicating with and to collaborate with in our next steps as humans on this planet, as we remember how to come back into relationship with all of life. And so when I tune in also with this experience of the plans and the messages of, what is wanting to come forward to communicate to humanity, there is this experience of how when we look deeply into the multidimensional mirror of nature, we can understand the wholeness of our own being, that that there is this experience of how the internal and the external realities reflect and affect each other. And so often when we immerse ourselves or even just tune into, for example, disordered messages that are coming from the media that are intentionally being designed to knock us out of our center, what happens when instead we choose to look to nature as a mirror reflecting back to us our own wholeness? It's so much easier to connect with a space of centeredness, of being, and to move forward from this place of being really anchored and rooted. And this is one of the great invitations for this time, because there is this experience that they keep showing me of these giant waves moving through humanity collectively. And it's so important to not get swayed out to sea by these big waves, but rather be like a buoy that is anchored to the baseline of the sea, so that as the waves come, yes, we still experience the waves, but we don't get swept out to sea. And that connecting with nature directly in whatever way is most aligned for you. For me, it's, of course, meditating, working with flower essences is a huge one, but that may be completely different for you. For you, it may be working with teas, it may be working with art and plants, it may be culinary, it may be clinical herbalism, it may be just straight plant communication, that there are so many different ways to connect with nature, with plants. And that the important thing to remember there are two things actually coming up. One is that the plants don't care how you relate to them. The point is about being in relationship and connecting with them. That whatever way inspires the most joy in you, follow that. Follow those breadcrumbs of that joy to connect with the plants. And the second thing is that sometimes I've noticed in working with folks around this that there can be this hang up around, oh, well, I didn't hear the plants, or, like, how do I connect with them? Like, how do I know the messages that they are sharing? And so something that can be really helpful for this is to just recognize, how is it that you personally receive intuitive messages? Like, think about the last time you just had an inner knowing where you knew something so clearly, so strongly. How is it that you knew that? Did you hear it? Did you see it with your inner vision? Did you feel it in your body? Or did you just have this knowing, this cognizant knowing that, yes, this was the thing, kind of a thing? So, whatever way that is for you, where whenever you receive intuitive guidance in your own life, that doesn't have anything to do with plants, let's say, that is a cue that provides a map for you to understand that this can be a very clear gateway of perception for you to receive the messages from the plants. And so in that invitation that they really have for us to just bring them in any possible facet, to invite in the collaboration with the plants, bring them into every facet of your life as much as possible, that this is a huge invitation from them right now, because they are really these incredible multidimensional beings of healing that happen to take the form of plants. And so we can relate to them in the three-dimensional form, and we can relate to them in all these other dimensions as well. And so whatever way resonates the most with us, they are wide open, standing with arms wide open, inviting us to join them in really shifting into the next chapter of wholeness and collaboration on this planet. So that that is the gist of the message today. I'm curious, Paul or Elisa, do you have any questions, or is there any other final wrap up things that you'd like me to touch on?
Lisa?
Well, I'll tell you, when I really ran that process of asking what nature was doing in my body and with the light, and I could feel how my body was being rewired, recalibrated for my next steps of my spiritual service, particularly with the trees, but with the whole planet. It was, oh, it's amazing. I could feel the changes rippling and sparkling through my body. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Yeah,
Oh, thank you
really.
so much for sharing that. I just love, and that's the thing that's so amazing to me about the plants, is that they don't move in this linear way necessarily, that experience that you had, so profound, so direct, so short, right? That it's like it doesn't need to be this, especially with the space that we're at planetarily right now, where these changes are happening so quickly. There's this opportunity to access this information of wholeness, of connections. It's like we don't necessarily right now at this point in history have to right now necessarily like sit in a cave and meditate for 13 years to get a message. It's like just tune in. What is the message from nature? What is the guidance? Great, let's move forward with that. The other thing that's so key that's coming up right now too is about the embodiment piece. That it's not just about knowing it in the head, but as you said, Elissa, just experiencing it in the body. That this is so important. The plants are literally showing us this. I mean, Rose right in front of me. Honestly, all the work I do is with Rose. Like, here's the computer screen, and me and Rose are co-facilitating everything together all the time because Rose is literally right here in front of me. But with Rose specifically, what she is showing so clearly is how, yes, have the beautiful flower is gorgeous, teaches us so much about unfolding in the moment, of being present in the unfolding through the flower. And she also has thorns, and she also is very deeply, deeply rooted into the earth and has a woody stem. And that there is so much to learn from this about, just like in the same way with the exercise with the trees, of how we can ask them, what is it that you are doing with light? How is it that I can possibly incorporate that into how I move forward and navigate in the world? That we can do this with all plants. We can just tune in with one plant and just ask, like, what is it that you are doing? Like, show me how it is that you are oriented to being alive, you know? And Rose has so much wisdom around that, and that we can then embody in our own life of, okay, yes, it is possible to be unfolding in the softness and presence of the moment, while also having good, compassionate boundaries and being deeply rooted into the earth. And that's, you know, one plant. It's like millions of them, you know, that there's just so much wisdom and guidance that they have to share with us, and all we have to do is just sit and listen and open, and it's really amazing the messages that can come through. So I also wanted to just take a quick moment and just thank you all for hosting this incredible experience today. It is, again, I love that you did it on solstice. What a better day to be tuning into the plants and the light eaters than this day, you know. And then also that aspect of just how it's free for anyone all around the planet, that it's going to continue to be free for folks to tune in, and just how it's so powerful. The plants have so many incredible messages to be sharing with the planet right now, and I'm just really grateful that you provided this container for folks to share and for folks to tune in and listen. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I just want to mention the tree behind me. It's the most powerful, spiritually powerful tree I've ever worked with, and traveling all over the world working with trees. And I could feel, since I'm tuned into it, that what we were talking about and what so many people have mentioned was being broadcast out that tree and all the trees I'm working with, but particularly that one, as we were speaking, and we were speaking about the changes that were taking place through us. So, so it's going out there. The whole planet's bathed in it. Wonderful. Thank you
Amazing.
so much for your
Thank you.
presentation. And at this time, we'll turn this back to Sue Fager for our next person. Be well. God bless.